to the next stop, the place where we talk about where you've been, where you're at now, and where you're going next. As you all know, we have 3 segments. The previous stop, the golden ticket, aka how you got to the current stop, and then, our title, the next stop. And as you guys can see today, we have a special guest, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Olamide Fagbamiye, go by Lami for short. Currently a grad student at Columbia University, also a designer, my own brand called Orun Collections.
It's definitely great having you on the podcast, of course, Lami.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Like, you're one of the people who I kind of told about this, and you were someone who was very impactful in my Morehouse career, and you're a great friend now. So it's great having you on the podcast.
Glad to be here, bro.
Of course. So just off the rip, you talked about how you're a Columbia student, and you grew up in Metro Atlanta, and you went to school at Morehouse, right?
Yeah.
What was the transition like for you from going to Atlanta to New York?
Honestly, the transition was kind of cool, personally, for me. Like, it wasn't really too hard. I think, obviously, moving for anybody is kind of tough, so that was something. But, getting up there, I think my desire to be up there kind of made a lot of the things that would have had an issue with, was kind of just easier. But in that, I'll be more transparent. I think because I had such a fantasy of being at Columbia, being in New York, living that type of experience, when I got there, I kind of didn't consider how to move with the idea of I don't have family up there, and I don't have immediate friends. So now I got to go into this new school and make connections with people that might not be on the same mindset as me. Obviously Columbia is not an HBCU. It's quite literally opposite. It's a PWI Ivy school, Ivy League. So it's their mindset are a little bit different on things. Granted, these people are still cool though. In my second year, I'm almost done. I kind of got to know a lot more people, kind of break that ice and make more connections. But overall, I would say that transition was just cool. I mean, it was cool. But it showed me, as you live through life, you kind of have to consider more things and just, your fantasies, the realities of that fantasy as well.
Yeah. They always say the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
But it's in reality, like you said, you don't know what different challenges might approach you.
Yeah.
Trying to live out your dream, or just doing something different.
No, facts.
So that's definitely interesting.
Yeah. It's what parts of the grass are greener for real.
Yeah.
I got over there, and I'm in a new city, and I don't have to worry about driving. Everything I'm looking for, I got it. But do I have my friends I just normally used to kick it with on every day there? The answer was no. Now I gotta kind of go out my own comfort zone and make new friends. Which was not too hard, but it just was challenging. Or even I'm in a relationship with my girlfriend, kick it with her every day. Now we're on FaceTime every day. A little bit of a challenge, but overall, it just was showing forth you got to think through things a little bit more, and how do you pivot more so.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you kind of talked about how important it is to build your own community, especially now since you're in New York.
Yeah.
How has your community and the people that you've kind of been around impacted and created the person that you are today?
Man, it's done a lot. I think even with our relationship, that's kind of the main reason why I think I'm invested in my friends, is because of the idea of how impactful community really is. I think I turned out the way I am now, and I'm still growing, because of the people that decided to invest in me. So having people in New York now who are taking the time out of their day to even get to know me get to know them, it's I take that kind of seriously, because it's with that, you never know where we can end up next in life. That one connection could show me where I need to be, or show me where I will be 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You never really know. So I do value it. I value the ones that I've made down here, the connections down here, because to this day I still talk to everybody, about what I got going on, and take their advice. Folks in New York, I'm getting to know them more, to kind of open up more about asking for advice or even giving that same advice. So I definitely value it.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And like, how has like your family kind of impacted who you are as well? Like, you know, you come from a Nigerian background. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think coming from the family that I'm in now, like, it shapes the way that I look at life. In addition to like all the other places I've been, I think it shapes the way that I look at respect and I give respect to people. I think it helps frame even like the negatives about like just certain things in life. Like it helps me recognize how to kind of point it out, you know. So I think my family, they've helped me a lot with understanding to always be yourself. At moments where I'm realized like I'm never gonna change, but like it's always I'm always reminded like keep that, like, you know, don't ever change for nobody. Stay yourself, stay true to yourself, and just keep growing as an individual. Like you're never gonna be perfect. You know, in Nigerian households, you're definitely reminded of that. Like, you know, you can always be better. And I mean, it's something that I had to grow to really appreciate more and more over the years. Like, it's not always great to hear how you could be better, but when you realize it, it's like you always realize you have a higher ceiling than everybody else. Like, if you notice you're not, if like, even for us, you know, in certain communities that we're in, like they tell us like extraordinary is just like the ordinary for us.
Yeah.
So you know, if you see that on an everyday level, if you're trained that way, it helps you realize, well, no, I can keep excelling. You know, like whatever can be seen as my ceiling is really not that. I can go higher. So.
And I feel like that's good because that always means that there's room for improvement.
Exactly.
And there's new things to learn.
Yeah, literally, always. I mean, I think that in addition to all the other like developmental groups I've been a part of, whether it's just like Morehouse, you know, AP, being at Columbia now, it's like they all show me like, yeah, bro, this is great, you made it, but like, how can we, you know, do better? How can we improve? So.
That's real. That is definitely real. So like, with being at Columbia, being in New York now, what do you feel like was kind of the biggest challenge or thing that you kind of had to get adjusted to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was being new into that city.
Yeah.
Like, and what I mean by that is, here in Atlanta, I think because I had did so much at Morehouse specifically, and it like, you come to realize Morehouse was really integrated and integral to the city. So like, you're looking for an event to, you know, be a vendor at a pop-up. Well, we've already done hella pop-ups in the city. I know who to contact. Like, oh, that's easy. No need to stress about it. I can get it done. In New York, it's like I gotta find the right pop-up. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get my stuff there. I gotta cough up the bread automatically. And it's like different levels and steps. It's like, it's common, but it's in my opinion, so far for me as a brand owner, it's been easier to do that here in Atlanta than in New York. And I mean, in context of everything else in my life, it's like it was easier to find, like, you know, I mean, it's easy in both cities to find like spaces to study. If it, you know, for me, like going back to school, but like I know my spots in Atlanta versus in New York, and I mean that simply just comes with time, on both occasions. But because of the recent change, it has been an adjustment for me, just kind of being a new guy in the city, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you're definitely getting used to it, and you're becoming more adjusted to being in a new city. Yeah. And it's like for you, like before this, you spent your whole life here.
Exactly.
So like that's completely different. But I feel like, you know, to grow, you really have to get out of your hometown city.
Exactly, and I'm glad I made a decision. I think from time to time, I don't think people question my decision. I think everybody appreciates my decision, but there are some people that kind of question like, how much longer you gonna stay up there? Like, what's next? And for me, I'm like, man, I don't know if y'all get it, but like, if you ask anybody who decided to leave from their hometown to go to college, how often do they go back so soon? The answer is like, it's not very often. Like, they don't just do 2 years and then come right back. So I think for me, it's like, with that, to your point, to grow more and more as a person, to get more comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's like, I think getting over those issues of like not knowing the right coffee shops to go to, or like not knowing the right events to be a vendor at. I just gotta spend more time and learning it. Learning the city.
Yeah, yeah, which is fun. It's a new adventure.
Yeah, literally.
So when people say like, oh, when are you coming back, or oh, they don't think that you should stay up in New York as long. Do you think that's more so saying that because it's you, or do you think that's kind of a projection of them?
Um, Man, I think some of it comes from a good place. Like everybody talks about the cost of living. I mean, you spent some time in New York too, so
Yeah.
New York can definitely be expensive. But so I guess it's partially just me wanting to spend my money wisely. But I do sometimes think it's a little bit of projection of like maybe them not being exactly where they want to be just yet, or even I won't even say projection, but like what's the word for it? Essentially, like they have another motive in like me coming back.
Like ulterior motives.
Ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might not just be for me exactly, but just like an idea of like, if my homies around, kick it more often, blase, or, you know, um, with family members, it's like, okay, like now we have somebody else we can always rely on if they're around. So, just keeping it being like, sometimes it happens that, there's other motives in mind. But I do think for everybody that's giving me the advice, it's like, it is coming from a good place.
Yeah.
But some of it also is projection of like what they would do if they're in my position. But sometimes I realize like, nobody has this life thing figured out. So although you might do something different, who's to really say that what you're doing is the right way or the best way even for me? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's real. Like I've kind of realized like with certain things I can't tell certain people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they don't want me to do well, but it's sometimes they kind of project their own different fears, or like their own different motives onto me, and sometimes they do it like without thinking.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just have to really think and kind of dissect what they're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for me, I do the same thing, like really looking through, and I also realize like different certain scenarios, and I know that we always talk about like how age is just a number. But in reality, like sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like age comes with circumstances.
Yeah.
And your circumstance is very different than mine. Like I'm a 23-year-old in grad school who got to start, full-time work soon. While other people are like their latter 20s, have been working for a little bit, have been in different relationships. It's like you have a different like outlook right now on life, one, and you might not even have a different outlook, but you're in definitely a different circumstance. So like your level of growing in mine is a little different. Like I'm younger than you, so like why would I not try to get what I can from this new experience of mine? Like I'm in another whole different I guess area in life as well. Like trying to learn new people, learn new skill sets, like gain new communities so I can even elevate even further. So yeah, bro, I think it's a lot that goes into that whole idea of like moving, being the new person and like how you grow from that. So
yeah. And I think experiences play a role as well.
Yeah.
Because people who are more experienced can give you great advice.
Yeah.
While there's people who, are 30 or 40 that might not have the same experiences as us. And because of that, they can kind of have a limited mindset or a limited view.
Yeah. I think, like my cousin said something the other day we were at Christmas. He was telling this to everybody because we do like this thing where we come around, like it's like a family meeting every Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And like, parents give their points, and like we as like the children also give our points if we desire to. So my cousin, he decided to talk about how wisdom is not just for the youth, like it's for everybody. Because my aunt, his mom is going back to school for like her master's or like doctorate or something like that.
Yeah.
And as he was saying it, I just had to realize like, I think sometimes we really get caught up in this idea that age is the automatic like equalizer to wisdom. And like as we both know, just went and saw Zay's service the other day.
Yeah.
Like that's not always the case. Like
yep.
Wisdom and knowledge is like are things that you have to play with. But wisdom is really the application of what you've learned, which is essentially knowledge. So with that being the case, I realized like sometimes experience is good and experience is a lot. But like if you're not able to apply that experience to your situation,
yes,
the knowledge you gain from it, then like I don't know if you're really the right person I should listen to. You know what I'm saying? If you can't really tell me day to day, like, or not day to day, but like move to move, how you're going to apply this, how I should even apply what you're telling me, then like, are you really the right person for me to be listening to? And I mean, sometimes you need to hear that so you know what not to do as well. But, you know, just realizing like you have to really have discernment when you listen to people.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
you really do.
You definitely have to have discernment.
Yeah.
And similar to what you said, it's like you can read as many textbooks as you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't actually know how to apply those things that you're reading in the textbook, then how much does that knowledge really matter?
Exactly. So I mean, that's on us too as the youth. Like, we might have read, you know, all the books in the world, but if you can't apply it, like, you know, it's hard to really make motion. So it's like I said, discernment on both ends. Like us as the youth listening to other individuals who are around our age. Like sometimes you might actually hear that word of advice you needed. But sometimes it's like you as an individual gotta learn when to like, you know, put your pride down and actually just listen up to the old. So
Facts.
yeah.
That's definitely facts. So you were talking about pop-up shops a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience about your brand and how it kind of started?
Yeah, man. So my brand is called Orun Collections. I know some people call it Orun.
Keep the drip.
Yeah, I got it on right now, always. Some people call it Orun. It's completely wrong. It's Orun, like with the E at the end. It basically means the sun in Yoruba. My family is, as Steven mentioned, Nigerian, specifically the Yoruba tribe. And the idea of the brand is like really to have everyone see the light. So if that means see the light in yourself, see the light in culture, see the light in just positivity, and like, you know, spreading that through fashion is kind of the way I'm going about it. In addition to that, it's really like a highlight of my life. As Steven mentioned, I'm from Metro Atlanta. I was born here in Atlanta, raised in Douglasville, so like 20 minutes from the city. And my family, you know, being Nigerian, had a different perspective from time to time at home. So I'm like Nigerian all the time, but I'm also really, I don't know, like African American by being born here in the States, or at least that's how I was raised. Like being in school with folks that look like me, that have a little bit of different culture at home. It was just kind of interesting to see how I could collaborate, like, you know, American streetwear, just American culture with Nigerian culture. And I kind of found that by just highlighting my life. Like, it doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It could just really be whatever I want it to be. So with that being the case, I got the inspiration of the brand by watching Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman's role as T'Challa was kind of, you know, inspirational. And at the end of the film really was the part, he talked about how he wanted to share his resources with the world, you know, and with that came change. So I was like, I could do the same thing just through fashion. So
yeah. What, and you kind of talked about the name of Orun. Well, what inspired the whole switch? Because that wasn't the original name.
No, it wasn't. I think what inspired the switch, I won't go into all the details.
Yeah.
But I really had been surrounded by creatives through my time at Morehouse. I didn't really know about like that really as a career. I never really thought about it as like an overarching career for people that made clothes or did creative design or even did media. But as I got to Morehouse and like was surrounded by individuals, they kind of like inspired me more and more to like get into it. And I think for me, I was already trying to do the whole fashion thing, but it was another type of wave of like native wear or like just cultural attires. But kind of realizing there's other avenues of really reaching other people, I was like, let me switch it up a little bit. So I really say it was Morehouse, and like just people I met through Morehouse.
So Morehouse, people you met through Morehouse, and the experiences that you had while at Morehouse.
While at Morehouse, for sure, yeah.
So what have been some of the different challenges that you face with your brand?
Yeah, the main one I think would be think finding efficient and timely manufacturers. Because I think a lot of people that are getting into it, they're coming to find out. Some of them, some people are not, but if you don't have the best manufacturer or timely manufacturer, it throws your whole timeline off. So like for me, man, I would try to, and I'm still working on it too, like figuring out the right days to drop and like, you know, the right days to get all my items into my manufacturer so I can have it by the time I want to drop. Man, I'll do all the work and sometimes still not get it back on time. Like, I had a recent situation, I was trying to get some merch off for homecoming, and man, the manufacturer was not ready. And we've been working on it for a brick, like a long time. And I mean, I think there might be some mix up on both ends, but primarily I was just kind of lost on like why it took so long. Or not even why, because I think I understand why, but just although it took that long, what were the other ways we could have went about navigating to get it to the deadline that you set? Because I didn't set the deadline. I asked you, when can it be ready? You said by this date. I asked you again on that date, is it ready? You said no. I don't know what else. What am I supposed to do? Like, what else could I do? You know what I'm saying? So that's been a major challenge. Outside of that, I think marketing, but I think for everybody, marketing is a challenge. But I think for me, I'm coming to realize, like, you know, it's a tough thing to do on the side when you're in school. So there are moments where it's like I'm needing material from people, and this is in addition to what I'm saying, but utilizing the right people as well, because sometimes you use certain people and they take a little bit longer getting the content back to you. So just working with dependable people, I'll say. But there'll be moments where I'm trying to, you know, post content, but I'm not getting the content I had just shot back in time. So it throws off the timeline again. Or it's moments in time where it's like I, as a creative, have not went out and made new content where it's like, I should really go do content days, but I haven't. So overall, I think it's just like the general, you know, ups and downs of having a brand. But for me, I definitely have seen a better progression in 2023. Hoping to take that into 2024.
That's good. That's really good to hear.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because with a business, you can't do everything yourself, right?
I can't.
It's impossible.
Literally impossible.
It's literally impossible. But you have to rely on other people with certain things.
Yeah.
And that can be good when they actually come through, but it can be very annoying and frustrating and difficult when they don't come through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because now you're facing challenges that you didn't expect or you possibly could have avoided if you did everything yourself.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
for people who are starting, you know, a new brand, what advice would you kind of give them? What are the golden tickets? Like, what are the resources? What's the sauce?
Yeah, nah, for sure. I would say focus heavy on your branding, and like before you even get into your actual pieces, like focus on the identity of the brand, of like who you are, or more so what the brand is, and I guess how you fit into it. How it can really be a highlight of what you believe in, if that's what you want the brand to be. But the brand identity, I think, is very important. So I know for me, and I'm very grateful for this person, my girlfriend. She helped me a lot when it came to rebranding. Like, helped me a lot. So with that, she kind of helped me see the light. You know, throw it in there. She helped me see the vision of like
ironic.
Of like understanding how if you work on your brand marketing skills or your brand identity, of like understanding your fonts, understanding your logo, of course, understanding the different types of logo that you may have, the color schemes you want to use, like how that will help with the designing portion. Like now you don't have to really think too hard on, okay, what exactly do I want to put on this t-shirt, if that's what you want to do. I'm gonna speak on that a little bit later. But what exactly do I want to throw on this item, and like how does that kind of fit in like what I'm trying to put out for this actual drop. So that's the first thing I'll say. The second thing is, as you're designing, I would say, I think where fashion is going is straying away from the like too much of branding. And when I say too much of branding, like the simple like Supreme tees and like just having Supreme on there. Like granted, I think those are still gonna be a thing. But if you even notice with Supreme, like they're getting into more like textiles and like different types of designs. Like it's not simply just a tee and like an image on there. Like graphic tees are still a thing for people, and I love a graphic tee as well. But it's like if everybody's doing graphic tees and nobody else is working on other aspects of fashion, then it's like it's oversaturated. And I mean, everybody's getting into it knows, and the having a brand is becoming an oversaturated career. But that doesn't mean you can't get into it. But I think that just means you have to be very unique in the way you want to go about running a brand. So take that as you will. That's my second piece of advice. And I think my third is really having your list of manufacturers, like, pronto, like having it. Like, I'm still working on getting mine together, but if I could go back now, I would definitely like look more into people I could use and utilize as manufacturers versus just like running with the first recommendation or second recommendation that I got when I was starting out.
So it sounds like research is very important.
Yeah, if you could just wrap it up, yeah, research would be the biggest thing.
Like researching like what's like trending, what's not. Researching what you want your brand to represent.
Yeah.
And then researching manufacturers and kind of like the other key important people to work with.
Yeah. And I would say, I guess, in addition to that, which I guess is a part of research, but more of like an application part, is goal setting. And when I say that, I mean like having, I think, overarching big goals are like what you want this brand to end up being, but like being more realistic on like a month to month or like year to year, where you want to see yourself at the end of when you reach that. So like me now, like how I'm trying to run the brand is like I want to see the brand grow to about, what I'm saying, I said like either 1,000 to 500 or 5,000 followers in this year. And I mean, for some that might be like really advantageous, but for me, I'm like, okay, why not? Like, why not shoot for the stars?
Facts. Shoot for the stars, land on the moon.
Exactly. So for me, it's like the idea is, set that goal now and keep in mind of where you started so you can actually see the progression of the brand. And like understand like the goal setting helps you realize that not everything that you invest in is a loss. Like for me, I used to look at it as if I went to a pop-up and I didn't make back the bread that I just put in to be a vendor, then like dang, it was a loss. And honestly, all the pop-ups I've done, I've actually either broke even or I made a little bit of profit, which is cool. I mean, it's definitely something you want to get out of it. But also realize like sometimes it's good to be in those places because you meet other designers that can maybe help you get where you want to be, or two, you gain a good following that day.
Facts.
And like for me, I think out of this year of 2023, like I gained a lot of following from simply just being in places and people were able to like kind of look into the brand a little bit more. So yeah, I think goal setting is a very good skill to have, or good thing to utilize as you're starting out a brand.
Yeah, and like with the example you were talking about, you're building brand recognition. Like exactly. That's one of the biggest things from pop-up shops.
Exactly.
People are seeing you and they're seeing people wear your clothing items and they're getting to witness it.
Yeah.
So even if someone might not buy it, they'll be at least able to say, oh, I know that brand. Or, oh, I've seen this before.
Yeah. Like I was at one pop-up and I didn't even remember when bro bought it, but he copped a hat for me apparently. I don't remember selling it to him, but copped a hat, and he was running the pop-up that day, and he was like, yeah, bro, I wear your hat all the time. Like, bro, and I have never actually met him officially. Like, that was my first day meeting him. And there's other occasions where, like, people have highlighted the brand, like, just other places. I'm like, okay, this, like, you have to realize, like, although you might not be winning immediately, because I think a lot of people are also looking for immediate success when it comes to these things. And some people are doing it, don't get me wrong.
I don't see it. Honestly, like with immediate success, like nothing good in life comes overnight. And people...
But nothing sustainable.
Yeah, nothing sustainable comes overnight. But I would say nothing good comes overnight either.
Yeah.
And it's like, people think like, oh, that's immediate success. Like they just see one TikTok blow up.
Yeah.
But they don't see the hundreds that people have filmed before that one that blew up.
Yeah. And I think for Man, I don't know. I think for me, I don't speak for other people, but for me, I realized like I'm not in it for the like. Yeah, of course I like one item, one TikTok to really blow up, but I realized like if it doesn't mean I have to give up. I gotta keep going. Like you really never know what's gonna happen tomorrow, so, or even the next minute or hours from now. So it's like, why bank everything on like this one item that may or may not, shoot like that. If it doesn't do it, then okay, let's keep going. Like I saw this one video last year, and I will never forget it. I think it was Denzel Washington talking about how he just keeps his head down and he keeps working, never stops working. And I think the mentality of that, for me at least, helps to realize like you don't have to just get that one, because if you're doing this other work, then like okay, you get multiple, and it's just like you can't bank everything on this one thing, because if you do that, then it's like when it never happens, or if it doesn't happen, then like, you just looking sad,
And it's also like, are you really doing it for the right reasons?
The right reasons, exactly. Yeah. I think that's the one thing about creativity that I'm realizing for a lot of people. It's like some people are doing it for the easy money grab, which is cool. I'm not looking down on it, but I do find that kind of limiting in this idea of like being a creative, because it's like if you're not able to tell a story that you want to tell, or if you're not able to like just create freely, then it's like then you put yourself in a box, because you gotta at that point you have to do what's trending, or you have to do what's will get you bread fast, or will have to do what will essentially like reach your bottom line to get bread. But at the end of the day, there's other people who are putting items out there, just creating content to just create because they want to, and it's like, sometimes they are getting the recognition that they deserve, sometimes they're not. But at the end of the day, it's like it's out there, and now they're able to like appreciate the work they put in. So
yeah, I definitely agree. Like even with the podcast, the whole point of this podcast is to impact people, share resources, and share stories, so that way like you guys can teach everyone else who's watching or who's viewing this and inspire them. But if I was just doing this for clout, like to get the next top followers, I'll be doing a TikTok run, like the TikTok Target run, where I'm recording myself going to Target. Like, no one wants to see that. Well, people do want to see it because it's blowing up, but it's like you're not really impacting people. You're not. You're not achieving some type of mission or goal. And like stuff like that's kind of corny.
I could be. I don't want to see it. Keep it being. I don't care to see that type of stuff, bro. Like, I mean, I think I've been told a lot. I'm just very different. Like even the whole like. I'm not talking down people's idea of content. That's just not for me. But like sometimes looking at people's lives on a day-to-day on YouTube, that personally, I could not get into it. I just couldn't. Because I mean, like, I'm not that invested in other people. Because I have things I want to do with my own life and my own time. So there's that. But like, and that's not necessarily like a quick money grab. Like people have to really invest their every day into doing that. Like my sister, she kind of vlogs a lot. And she, showcases like different things that she's doing. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I actually do watch them and I'm like, okay, I actually learned something from that. But like I guess what Steven's talking about, going to Target and like, doing the whole pranks and stuff like that. They be like, bro, like we're too old for this. Like this is stuff people were doing when I was in middle school and high school. So to be doing it now, where I'm like, I might be 24 this year, like, yo, we're getting old. Like getting up there. Like, what are you doing? These people are older than me, or at least my age.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, what are you really doing with your time?
I'm not gonna lie, some of the pranks do are pretty funny.
They funny, but it's funny. It's like, I'll be like Drewski, He's recording in his own areas with his own people, and he's actually making motion off of it.
Yeah, some people are making motion, but like the TikToks that kind of irk me are the ones where it's like, have you seen the trend where people are going to Target and they just go shop at Target?
Nah,
me getting ready for my Target run.
Yeah, nah, I ain't seen that.
That's corny. Or like, especially in the Black community, the ones that are tearing down like our population, like constant drama or gossip, I hate that. I hate that. Because like, that's the only
shade room and stuff.
Yes, it blows me.
Yeah, I don't really.
It blows me.
I stopped following a while ago. I just couldn't. it's like, bro, like, why do we care so much? Like, I don't really, like, now, turning to my parents a little bit, like, I'd rather really see news, like, real live news, like what's going on in the U.S. That's major. Like, I don't want to, like, yeah, it's just not for me, bro. I'm not gonna get into it.
And it just builds like negative stereotypes and outlooks of black people.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like unnecessary.
It's like a lot of negative gossip, and it just makes you feel like yucky after watching it.
And we're doing it to ourselves.
Yes, we are.
Come on, bro. That made no sense.
Yeah, we definitely are. So talk to me about what it's like going to a pop-up shop in Atlanta versus New York, because you kind of mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, man. I would say the difference, I mean, at least for me, the difference has been in Atlanta, I feel like there aren't too many different groups doing them. And I mean, I want to speak kind of loosely when I say that, because I mean, there probably are hella people doing them. But at least the ones that I signed up for, they were kind of like the bigger ones. So you knew there was going to be a crowd there. But like, did that mean that you're going to make sales? I mean, that's, kind of up to you and your marketing. Like, if people are interested in your product. But while in New York, man, there's pop-ups everywhere. You don't even have to be at a pop-up shop to have a pop-up, if you feel me. Like, in Atlanta, you could possibly do the same thing. But in New York, it's really like, you have to walk or take the train everywhere. Driving is not really an option. So, for example, I live in Harlem, and essentially the heart of Harlem. You can have people have their own shops just up in the street almost all the time. So it's like, for that, it's like sometimes if you're local like me, I'm not really trying to stop and shop by you, unless like I'm really interested in what you got. That's one, and two. Though there's that, and then there's also actual quote unquote pop-up shops where it'll be in places where you're supposed to be selling, but because of like the fact that people have already been doing that so often, it's like just really regular foot traffic, and people might stop and look around and shop, but sometimes they're not actually there to buy your items. They're there to get something else. So that's kind of been a difference I ran into, and I feel like that happens here in Atlanta too, but it's like the framing of it. So like here in Atlanta, you'll have people at the mall who got their own little thing, like their own little kiosk, and I guess not really a pop-up, but it's sometimes how it feels for like me and other brand owners in like different quote unquote pop-up shops in New York. There was this one I did in Brooklyn like during Juneteenth, and it was a lot of brands. It was in a very highly foot trafficked area, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is gonna be a good event, right? I'm hoping it's gonna be a good event, and it was solid. But I'm there, and the way that I'm even positioned in this mall, which I didn't know was a mall until I got there, I'm like, bro, I'm like a kiosk, really. I'm literally like a kiosk.
Yeah.
And we all know how it is going to the mall, especially here in Atlanta. Like the kiosk, like, bro,
you don't want to do nothing with the kiosk.
You don't want to do nothing. You just keep walking by, bro, because it's like, I'm not really rocking with what you're selling. I don't really care for it like that. I'm not. And that's just because of like the presentation, the framing of what we see kiosks to be. I think really what ruined it in Atlanta, especially like at Cumberland, is the homies that be trying to clean your shoes.
That's the most annoying thing.
That right there, I think, really messed it up for everybody, bro. Like, so for me especially, like, as I'm in New York now, like that's even the setup. I'm like, man, we'll see how this goes. And it actually went well. Like, I got a lot of different people to cop. I actually made a solid profit that day. Got a decent following. But it was just the framing. I'm like, yo, this could have been something else if, maybe this, like the actual space was dedicated to pop-up. And even if the marketing was promoted that way too. Because, like, I mean, me, only had been being in New York for like a year. I didn't even know that space. And I live in Harlem. I live in Brooklyn. So it was like, I didn't really know, because I'm not really in Brooklyn like that. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is, and this is more on like me as a vendor, but going from places like Harlem to downtown or like to Brooklyn without a car is OD. It's hard.
Yeah.
Bro. So
that's a crazy trip.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not gonna lie.
But I made them work, bro. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's difficult. Like, you'll see me with a suitcase just rolling around trying to get to the pop up because
on the train.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
the hour train ride.
Yeah, bro. I did it, bro. You gotta get it done, bro. So
I respect the grind.
it's either that or call a Lyft, which I have done that too. I called a Lyft.
Those. You heard of the pockets.
And that's my point, man. So the train is the only way. While here in Atlanta, bro, I just get in my car, drive to the spot, load up, unload, go home. Very easy. So trade-offs to it all, but I think the biggest thing for me I'm noticing in being in New York is there's definitely like a higher, I mean, I don't want to say there's a higher ceiling, because I mean, this idea is not just be citywide, but the potential to meet other designers so far that are different in what they're putting out has definitely been a thing for that I've noticed while being in New York. And not just designers, but creatives in general. I mean, New York is also one of those capitals of fashion in the world. So, like, of course it's going to be like that. But I think me not noticing that or realizing that or thinking about it till I got there, or I definitely thought about it or thinking about it on that level till I got there, has definitely shown fruit. And it's shown like there's just a higher possibility of like connecting with that right model or connecting with that right photographer. So now we're really up now, you know. So
yeah, that's real. That's real. Environment definitely plays a role.
Yeah.
And it sounds like each environment has its own advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah. Like I think one of the bigger advantages for me is like, you know, I'm also a member of First Floor Productions. So shout out to guys.
FFP.
Yeah. We do a lot of work here in the city because we're all here. Or I mean, majority of the team is here. So like when I come home, it's always easy to just get a shoot in, or like we create some type of content, whether that's for my brand or not. Like it's easier because I already established those relationships. We're all working together to get to a certain place. While in New York, it's like I have different people I would contact, but schedules, you know, as we're aligning places, can we meet up? Because New York and Atlanta, to get to places is not the same. Once again, I live in Harlem. If I want to get somewhere in Brooklyn or even downtown, it takes me like 30 minutes.
At least.
Minimum to get there. In Atlanta, if anything, 20 minutes max, average. I mean, that's maybe no traffic, but for the most part, you get there pretty quick. So just, you know, trade-offs to it all. But I appreciate being able to do what I do in both cities for sure.
Yeah. So before we talk about like your next stop, I kind of do want to talk to you about this because you mentioned this person a lot throughout your interview.
Yeah.
How important is it to pick the right person to be in a relationship with?
Yeah, man. I'm glad you asked that. Saw it coming.
Yeah.
It's very important. I think for your mental, your career, almost like your everything, bro. I think they say statistically that is one of the major important decisions in your life. Like, I forget the other ones, but like who you marry or who you're with, is important. Like it's very important. And I think for me, still young, so I'm not gonna sound like I'm some old head giving mad advice, but I think me and my girlfriend have been in a relationship for ongoing, about to be 3 years, and at the end of this month.
Which
so
is crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of flown by. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So I would say like us being together, we learn a lot from each other, and I think that is kind of, I guess the right word would be like the crux of like showing that it's a good relationship in my opinion. Like that's one of them, I would say. It's like, can you really learn from this person? Can they improve your life and can you improve theirs? You know, like, are you able to really show that you're growing as an individual and also in the relationship? So I think, you know, I think those are things you keep in mind. I would say like outside of like, you know, professionalism and like careers and like brand stuff, I think I've been able to kind of be more vulnerable with her as well as a person. And I know, you know, you hear all this type of stuff, of course, over the last couple of years, like black man, it's not really a thing, which is real. It's not like for us to be vulnerable, but I think with her, I've been able to do that. And she has accepted that very well. And, you know, vice versa for her, she's been able to be vulnerable. But I think the other thing that sometimes goes unrecognized in relationships, or at least when this topic comes up, is the room for improvement. Like, a lot of times we talk about just like, oh yeah, they're a great couple, they look good, blah blah blah, but it's like, yeah, like, I mean, but like, yo, you got things you got to work on, you know. Like, I know for me, I'm human. Got things I have to work on to improve not only myself but the relationship. And with that being said, it's like, if you're with a person who's not willing to, one, point out your flaws, or if you're not willing to acknowledge their flaws, or if you're not even willing to acknowledge your own, it's like, that's kind of dangerous. So I would say you got to keep that in mind with also picking the right person. And like that, you know, is very important in like the other things in your life. So like tying that to the career, if you know, partner not telling you like, yeah, you came home and you didn't really do your work, and you know you got a presentation on Friday, it's like, oh, it's kind of like, you know, if they can critique you on that, then it's good. Like, that's what you want. I think somebody said, you say this when I was an athlete. I mean, still, I guess you can consider, I'm not really an athlete now, I don't play no sports, but when I was in high school, they said if your coach is not telling you something, that's when you should be worried.
Facts.
And I feel like in relationships, if your partner is not telling you things that you can work on for them, for the relationship, or even for yourself, then you definitely should be worried, bro. Because you don't want no yes man in your corner. Like, you need somebody to tell you like, nah, you were wild. Nah, I don't think you should do it that way. Nah, I think you can ask for more. Like, you want that. So
yeah. That's real. That's real. Like, I will say, like, one of the most inspiring things about you and your girlfriend's relationship is how supportive you guys are of each other.
Yeah, bro. She's like number one. Like, I never really had that. Well, I mean, nah, I really never had it like that before.
Yeah.
Like, at this grown age type, like maybe in high school, but even then, it's like, nah, she like real life full support. She actually gets mad at me when I don't tell her about a win.
Yeah.
And I really, growing up, I wasn't too big on sharing wins because it's like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, that's kind of how I was raised a little bit. And it's also like, some folks just couldn't support in the ways that I kind of would need it. So I'll hold the wins to myself. But like with her, it's like, nah, like I want to know. I want to be a part of your life. So that's another thing. Like, if you can't support, or if they can't support you, or if you feel like you can't share those wins, and it's like, is that person ready for you?
Yeah, and like the whole accountability piece of how she keeps you accountable as well.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like those two are, you know, just really important to having people around you. Like, I know for like us, like at our age, like as men, like the whole conception is like, yeah, like, don't get a girlfriend, they're a distraction right now. Like, they're not going to help you, they can tear you down.
Yeah.
Do I agree or disagree? I'm kind of in between personally, because it's like, the right person can lift you up a lot.
Yeah.
The wrong person can tear you down a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
So like, that's kind of the way I view it. So it's really good that you have someone who lifts you up a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I definitely think, like, I think it's all subjective, and there's no wrong or right time. I think sometimes we look at time as this idea that like you have to do things immediately, or sometimes you have to prolong it. But at the end of the day, we're all different. Like, I know for me, like when me and Lana decided to, you know, start dating, I even get in a relationship, it was just like, we didn't force it. Like, it really just kind of happened on its own. And I feel like those are the better relationships, when they just happen. Like, you don't have to force nothing. So, I mean, if that means, like, you know, for everybody out there, if you're in a situation now where it's like, you focusing on you, do that. Trust me, it's cool. But if you're in a situation where it's like, you focusing on you, but you found somebody along the side was willing to like kind of be there with you, I mean, I say look into it, bro. It don't hurt to try. That's another thing.
Yeah.
It does not hurt to try.
I don't know. I'll say consider it. You know, like me, I'm focusing on myself right now.
Consider it for sure.
You know, like, I'm trying to build myself up. You feel me?
Nah, for sure.
But like, I'm gonna consider it if she like adding value to my life, and I can add value to hers. But she's taking away.
Nah, that's
you
facts.
feel me?
That's facts. But I feel like as you consider, you realize, okay, because everyone has a different levels of when they want to try.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And in like your case or anybody else's case, as you're considering, it's like, oh well, because I mean, I think this idea that you can't check boxes, I personally don't agree. I think you can check some boxes, bro. Like, I'm not saying you got to check them as an individual. Like, if they don't have all these, and nah. But if there's certain things that you are looking for to have in order, like I know for like me and my girlfriend's story.
Yeah.
The thing was, her friend, she was looking for somebody that was godly. I think she mentioned intelligent and some other stuff, but godly was the biggest thing that I remember. Her friends mentioned me, so like in reality, they check boxes. Okay, godly, intelligent, this, that. Okay, you got it. Why not? And in a lot of people's cases, as you're considering, as you talk to people, okay, like, yeah, you have these immediate things. I gotta find out more about you, so I'm gonna look into it now.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts though.
I don't think it's wrong to check boxes either,
Yeah, bro.
to a certain extent, because for
to
me,
certain
there's
extent,
certain
bro.
non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like there's
To
certain things
extent.
that, like, if you don't have it, I have no business talking to you at all.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a fact, bro.
But like, as we begin to wrap up the episode, what's the next stop for Lami? What do you have planned for the future?
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna go too into detail, but about to graduate from Columbia with a master's in public health, and hoping to start full-time work sometime in this year, 2024. And with that, I'm hoping to really like grow in my skill set, grow in this idea of what it means to be a public health professional, hoping to really like climb the ladder and get into spaces of learning more about healthcare administration even. And yeah, I just want to really like grow in my field. I think my this year, my words for the year, I don't really do this often, but my girlfriend kind of helped me, inspire me to think about it. But this year, I have 2 words. It's like change and discipline. And I think as it pertains to like my next stops for my career is like changing my mindset about how I want to push forward and like excel, but being disciplined to also get there. And I guess furthermore for like the brand Orun, trying to really push it, man. Trying to get some more content out there, get more pieces out there. Hoping to do more women's pieces this year to like kind of expand the brand, build a community, and like get into what that really means, and for people to really understand what the brand is supposed to be about. I think that's kind of the big things for the brand this year. And also, of course, grow the following. Definitely want more people to be a part of what we're building here. And then I guess the next stop, me personally, I think I want to travel a little bit more as an individual, keep building my friendships up, save bread, like save a lot of bread. Trying to make a big purchase soon. I ain't gonna speak on it. Y'all gonna see it, but trying to definitely save up my bread so I can do what I gotta do in life.
Mm-hmm. Who are 3 to 5 people that you want to work with when it comes to your brand? You can just say names.
Yeah,
this year.
3 to 5. I'll go 5. I want to work with my lady, Alana. Her brand, she has a brand called Aluma Creations. I want to work with my sister. She also has a brand. Her brand is called Orun. So AWORAN. And then outside of that, I think I want to keep obviously working with FFP, Fresh Floor Productions. And the last 2 spots, I think I really want to work with, I haven't thought too deeply, but as it comes to mind now, I want to work with a couple of models, not just brands, but models. Mm-hmm. There's a couple people I met in New York. I'm forgetting their names right now, but they, I met them at CultureCon. So, it's a big conference for creatives who are pushing the narrative in all different aspects. But I want to work with them and like creating different shoots, and like really helping each other out. Like you're looking for probably brands to help push your career. I'm looking for individuals to help me push mine. So yeah, it's kind of like I guess my 5 that I'm really hoping to work with this year. And I guess really not honorable mention, but really the last person, if I could, bro, would love to work with Tyler the Creator this year.
That's hard.
Yeah, I
That's
would really
hard.
love to. I think his brand and just everything he's doing, you know, I don't know if people know this, but he's also Nigerian, so like that being a thing, I would love to like really work with him, like learn under him. If there's room for collaboration, maybe. But I think really like for me, as we learn from Zay, just like getting that knowledge so that, and also attaining that wisdom so you can really like make it work and sustain it and maintain what you got. So I think working with him would kind of give me the wisdom to maintain what I currently have. So
That's real.
yeah,
That's real. Now, who are 3 people that you would like to see on the next stop?
man.
You don't have to explain it. You can just say their names.
Yeah,
I'll have my manager shoot them a message.
for sure. On the next stop, who I like to see on here, I think obviously first floor.
Oh yeah.
As long as our first floor.
FFP.
I think that'd be great. Who else? I think somebody else. I mean, we both know pretty well. I think Michael McGirt. Good man.
That's an interesting person to get on here.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of wisdom.
He has a story to tell for sure.
I think he has a story to tell. And then I think I'm gonna do two more people.
Okay.
My girlfriend, Alana. I think she has a lot to share as well. And I think DB, Sean Bennett.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot to share. I think him coming from a different aspect would be good. So
Bet. I'm gonna let my managers know.
yeah, man.
Let my managers know.
For sure.
Well, I appreciate having you on the podcast,
Yeah,
Lami.
man, glad to be here.
Before we end, would you like to shout your socials so the audience
bro.
can follow you?
So my personal page at saint.lami, the brand page, Orun Collections, so ORUN Collections. And then yeah, I'm a member of First Floor Productions, so follow that as well. So First Floor Prod.
Definitely tap in with Lami, you guys. Whether you guys have any questions about his experience at Morehouse Columbia or his brand, or just any guidance. Lami is one of the people who I consider kind of like a big brother, and who has definitely poured into me throughout my whole Morehouse journey and just in my life in general. So like, it's really great having you on the podcast, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here, man. I appreciate you always.
Of course, bro.
Locked in.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. See y'all later.
See you.